Alright, welcome back everyone to TGS, week number 6 against Zooch. I don't remember his team name, but it'll be in the description below. But we are taking on Zooch this week. We are 2-3. We're on a 3-game losing streak, which is pretty bad. But I've decided to kind of shift my mindset a little bit. I've been going a little too invested. I feel like that's been too invested. That is not healthy for me. I've been pretty bummed about some of these losses, and I feel like I put in a good amount of effort with my prep, and I feel like at some points I'm just not allowed to play the game. I feel like I've set up certain sequences and then I get kind of punished because of the moves I have to use. Granted, they're inaccurate moves. I just roll with the punches. That's all I can really deal with. I try to make sets in a way where I don't have to rely on inaccurate moves if I don't have to. I try to minimize all of the percent chances in prep and in the battle itself. But in some cases, I feel like the best play is still relying on, those percent chances. And then if they don't happen, they don't happen. But obviously they've compounded most of the past few weeks. Probably more so week 4 more than anything else. But yeah, so here's my team. As you can see, we did make the transactions last week. Chi-Yu's on the team, no longer Sarah Ledge, Low Kicks, Mianxiao, and the likes. So we have Shaman as well. But yeah, Zooch's team, pretty scary. He's a really offensive team. He recently changed his Latias to his Terra from his not Pecharunt. He had something else on here that had Terra. But he dropped it. It was Landorus. He had Landorus High. He dropped it for Swampert. He picked up Corviknight as well from Habita. And then Bellybolt he picked up and made it his Terra as well. So pretty annoying because Bellybolt is pretty tanky and it can be whatever it wants. So I kind of had to go with a more stab-based Chi-Yu in order to break through this team. And I was just looking at it. Outside of Valiant and Meowscarada, he has no Dark Resist. Now, you could argue I could probably go for a Fire move because he has just as equally bad Fire Resist with Latias and Swampert, but I feel like Swampert could be potentially the switch into this Mon or Bellybolt. So I figured I might as well just go for Dark. It doesn't hurt me with rocks and stuff like that, but yeah, as a breaker, that seems like the best Mon here. And then everything else kind of just needs chip. So if I can remove Bellybolt, then Torn might have an easier time clicking moves here. But obviously Meowscarada outspeeds Tornadus T, and it outspeeds my entire team. So I'm going to have to rely on like Overquill and Murfroom to kind of handle Meowscarada, which is a big threat to my team otherwise. But yeah, I sort of just kind of mountain prepped for these 8 Mons. I kind of ignored Crocalor just because I feel like I have a lot that punishes it. So I figured it'd be fine to just focus on these 8. I wasn't sure if he would bring Pecharunt because of the type of offense I boast. A lot of special attackers on here. And then he could bring like Korv or Swampert for Rev. And then some combination of, everything else. But we'll have to see. So this is what I brought. I brought a very fun Chi-Yu. So the practical set I was going to bring was Flame Charge. I could have easily put it on here as well. I didn't need Nasty Plot per se, but Flame Charge would have been useful, but I wanted to get around potential Scarf Meowscarada or Booster Valiant. So I kind of went with a fun idea. I've never seen it used, but apparently it has been brought before, but it's a Blunder Policy Inferno Chi-Yu. Inferno is a 50% accurate move, so I can get a nice Blunder Policy going if I miss something on a sack. Like say I get Chi-Yu in, I force a sack as he switches out and sacks something else, I don't know. And then I get an Inferno off, and then obviously if I miss, I get the +2 boost, and then I can just potentially plot or just attack depending on the end game there. But if everything's in range of a neutral hit, I would never need plot. So yeah, if I land it, it's honestly more unlucky, but we're just gonna have to roll with that if it happens. Fun set, I just want to bring it. Simple as that. It might not be the best set. Scarf could be good here as well. But I wanted to try it out, and I think it can work around some of his other +1 speed mods. So because of that, the other win con that we have, and I'll show it here, is this Overquill. Lumberry, Intimidate, pretty bulky, but has Gunk Shot, Crunch, Agility, and Sword Stance. I want to Double Dance with this because it looks pretty fun as well. Similar to Chi-Yu, not as fast, so it won't actually outspeed like Scarf, Meowscarada, or anything like that, or maybe even +1 booster Valiant. So all we had really going for us is maybe it's like a breaker for us, and then maybe we rely on the Chi-Yu Blunder policy for late game. But if we scout things and they're not Scarf, Overquill can be very good here, and as well as our Torn, which is Scarf, and it can outspeed Valiant guaranteed at +1, and it won't outspeed Meowscarada, but Meowscarada is going to have a tough time locking unless it wants to lock like Knockoff or something. And if it locks Axel, our primary switch into that is this Revavroom, which is Helmet defensive. But yeah, the reason I'm kind of skipping around is because I kind of built I built these two mons first at the end, so I'll get to them last. But yeah, so Chi-Yu with Blunder Policy, Overquill with Double Dance, Scarf Torn with Tailwind. I had a 4th move slot. I didn't need to put anything there, so I just put Tailwind in the off chance Torn comes in versus some boosted stuff, and I can't necessarily win with Torn. I can get a Tailwind off, and then I can win with something like Chi-Yu without the Blunder Policy, which is still pretty useful. But yeah, Revavroom is here as a pivot to, again, the Meowscarada. I have Intimidate on Overquill, but this is not going to pivot into it that well, especially since I don't want to have to take a hit until necessary, which is when I'm set up. So yeah, Revavroom, Helmet with Filter, Poison Jab, so I can guarantee land instead of clicking Gunk Shot, Endeavor, Toxic, and Parting Shot. So it's a pretty interesting set, mainly a pivot, and that's kind of how I'm going to be using it. But yeah, like I said, the first two mons I built, Rotom and Deoxys here, both are Light Clay, double screens, Reflect Light Screen. And then Rotom is Volt Switch Pain Split, so it gives me a way to kind of hit things with Pain Split. I'm spreading around poisons with Jab, Gunk Shot, and Toxic, and then I can Pain Split on them, heal, Volt Switch outside of like Swampert or something, which is going to be the primary probably switch in the Rev if it's not Corv, and I can Toxic that. Deoxys has no attacks. It's just double screens. Taunt is good for like Corviknight, Bellibolt, Bellibolt especially if it wants to screens. I can taunt Swampert if it wants to click rocks or something, or Terrapagos if it wants to set up. But yeah, and then I can also teleport. So I get myself a slow pivot while it's still also being pretty fast enough versus this team. But yeah, this EV spread is designed to live special Valiant hit, and that's basically it. Wow, a lot of talking. But yeah, simple team, just very offensive, double screens, Scarf Torn, Pivot Rev, Double Dance Overquill, and then potential win con Chi-Yu. So yeah, let's hop into the game here. Again, this team, probably not the ideal team into a very offensive team, but I really just wanted to try this style with this team, and I wanted to use this Chi-Yu, so you can hate me or love me, but I'm going to bring it whether it works or not. At this point, I just want to have fun the rest of the season, not worry about the results. But here we go. So we go into the match here. I'm actually going to slow this down a bit. I lead with Overquill. So the reason I don't lead with something like Torn is, again, I think the Meowscarada could lead. He has a static Bellibolt, which I don't really want to potentially U-turn on. So I go for Overquill lead here to try and intimidate the Meowscarada off lead so I can pivot to Rev. And it also covered like something like Swampert as well, if he led with it, because I can intimidate it and it gives me a decent pivot into Rotom to start setting up screens. But I opt not to go Rotom first, but I decided to go Deoxys, as he opts to go for his Stealth Rocks. So a bit unfortunate, but again, I didn't want to lead my screeners versus Meowscarada as well. Pretty bad. So I decided to just go for Reflect here. I know he's probably going to click Flip Turn or Knockoff, and he does click Flip Turn here. And he goes into Bellibolt. I'm taunting this 100%, as he does go into that. And I forgot to double check for you guys, but his Terra user is the Bellibolt and the Latias. He brought Terra Flying on his Bellibolt, and he brought Terra Dragon on his Latias. So not entirely sure what the Terra Flying was for. Probably for like Shreds or something, or Shaman. He was scared of that, but Shaman's actually pretty good here. But Shaman also gets completely walled by Corviknight and abused by Latias, so that's why I didn't bring it. But Terra Dragon, Latias looks pretty scary if it's like setup, specs, Scarf, and all that. And then obviously I'm Terra Dark on Chi-Yu. Oops. But yeah, I decided to get my light screen as I expected him to click Volt Switch, and he does. And he brings in Swampert here, and I know I can click Teleport, which is what I do, but he does get a knockoff off, which is kind of expected here. And at this point now I can bring in my Chi-Yu. I want to nuke this thing, and because of the screens, I should be okay. But yeah, I could have clicked Nasty Plot here, but if he is like a Spadef Swampert, I have no idea yet. I haven't touched it. I don't want to hit him potentially because I know I can't actually. I think I can I two-shot him for sure, but I don't want him to be like Citrus Berry or something, and that might be able to work around the offensive here. And I also don't know what any of these other mons are. Terapagos exists as well. I could have plotted for sure, especially since I could Inferno if I wanted to, but I decided to just go for an attack because ultimately I feel like I'm going to be pushed out. Even if I clicked Plot, I would have had to click Inferno versus like Belly Bolt, which might Toxic or T-Wave me, and it had revealed Toxic. So I just decided to go for Dark Pulse, and he sacks Belly Bolt because obviously this is a two-shot. Belly Bolt, that was Max Spadef Belly Bolt guarantee got two-shot by modest Dark Pulse, which is really nice. But he brings in Meowscarada. Now, if he thinks I'm Scarfed, or I'm not Scarfed, this is his play all the way. But if he does think I'm Scarfed, and he didn't want to go Swampert and take damage, which is pretty bad for him if Revavroom is, or Overquill, for example, is some type of setup set. So in his best interest, he is best to go into this. Even if it is Scarf, I can't two-shot him. And he might click Brick Break or something, or Knockoff, or U-Turn, for example. So I decided to just make the safe switch to Revavroom, but it makes me think this might be Scarfed Meowscarada with how he's been playing it. Or how he's going to be playing it here. As he does go for Brick Break here. But yeah, we got a nice Rocky Helmet. I could get click Party Shot here and get my Chi-Yu back in, but I decided to click Toxic here because I feel like Toxicking the Swampert is decent for me. Now, I have no idea if he'll click Knockoff or whatever of the like, so I decided to just bring in my Deoxys here, as I know he's probably going to click Flip Turn, and he does. Sorry, I'm talking a little too fast, but he brings in Terapagos here. Now, I can do one of two things. I can Light Screen, well, one of three things. I can Light Screen, I can Teleport, or I can Taunt. Taunt's good because if he's clicking CM, I want to taunt him. But if he clicks Rapid Spin here, that's where Taunt would be pretty useful. Or I can click Teleport. But again, I don't really have a whole lot designed to take this on. I could probably go Rotom, just click Light Screen, especially if I taunted him. So I should have clicked Taunt here, but again, I'm a little trigger happy here, and I kind of don't want this Light Screen up because it's only a 4-turner after this. Well, Rotom still has the Light Clay. I should have clicked Taunt. And you see he does click Calm Mind here, so it's a bit annoying that he opted to go for that instead of Rapid Spin. But yeah, I click Taunt here now, but he's going to obviously click Rapid Spin at this point, and he does. But yeah, he goes for Earth Power, does no damage. As I click Teleport. And I'm forced to go Rotom, which is really annoying because this whole sequence would have been better. He would have not been +1. And he would have been taunted already. And I would have gotten the Light Screen up with this mon instead. But yeah, he Terra Starstorms. I go for Pain Split to break his Terra Shell, so now I can actually do damage to him. And from this point, I have to use the Light Screen that I have up here, and I have to go for Volt Switch here. And I know with the taunt gone, he can Calm Mind. Now he's at +2. And this does next to no damage. Now, it's +1. I might not be able to revenge this. At this point, I'm like, shit, I think it sweeps my team. I have nothing for this, but again, I placed a move on my Torn for shit going off the wall. So I bring in Torn here. The light screen's gone. I have to just bank on the fact that he's not going to click Rapid Spin here because he really has no reason not to. So I just go for Tailwind. I have to go for it and hope he doesn't click Rapid Spin. Because especially if I lock into this, he knows I'm Scarfed. And he could just spam Rapid Spin again to get past the Tailwind. So luckily he clicks Terra Starstorm, knocks out my Torn, which is a bit unfortunate because I don't have anything for like Meowscarada, Valiant, if it is like a Scarf Latias or something. So having to sack that was pretty bad, and I probably could have gotten around it if I didn't fuck up the taunt light screen turn with Deoxys versus Terapagos. So at this point, I need chip damage on it. I don't want to sack Chiyu since the Blunder policy is more guaranteed to outspeed Booster Valiant and +1 or Scarf Meowscarada. Overcoil can't. It's not guaranteed. So I have to go Overcoil here first, and I have to give it up. The reason being is under the Tailwind, I'm not sure Revavroom outspeeds this at +1 because I have no speed investment basically. Rotom doesn't do anything, and Deoxys doesn't do anything. So I have to go Overcoil here, and I have to land a Gunk Shot. If I get a Poison, it helps. But I do land the Gunk Shot, which is really nice. If I had Poisoned here, it actually would have been massive for me because he would have died the next turn, and I could have just sacked Deoxys here and kept my Overcoil around. But no Poison. But I opt to just sack the Deoxys anyways because I know I have 2 turns left. The only difference here is I would have had the 1 turn of Tailwind left, and he would have had to pick what he brought in at that point. Probably the Latias, I imagine, or the Swampert, but we'll get to that. But yeah, there's 1 turn of Tailwind left. He's +2 speed. I know I guarantee outspeed this even with Modest, because I highly doubt he ran. I guarantee outspeed this, yeah, basically. I Dark Pulse here. Again, he doesn't know exactly what my item is. I haven't clicked anything other than Dark Pulse at this point in time. But yeah, he rings in Meowscarada. I think this is Scarfed because I have to scout it as such. So I go Rev. I know he's going to click U-turn. But at least I get Chip on this, and it potentially could put it more into range of Dark Pulse, which is nice. But yeah, he brings Swampert in here. I have to make a play whether or not he's going to Flip Turn here or not. And I don't know if I want to necessarily go Rotom yet, but I do want my screens. But I opt to click Parting Shot. I have a feeling he might click Flip Turn or Knockoff. And so I considered potentially staying in and clicking like Endeavor, because getting this chip down really helps my Chiyu, but I opted to click this instead. I wish I stayed in and trusted my gut, because had I chipped this down, the Endeavor, the Poison, and the Rocky Helmet, this thing would have been basically dead. And at that point, I could have just Parting Shot it out. But I bring in Rotom here, and at this point, I kind of have to just go for screens. I go for a light screen here because I do it for Special Valiant, because that's probably the most likely bring here, unless he has mixed. I consider maybe running Reflect, so he was forced to click Brick Break with Meowscarada or something if he is choiced. But I clicked Light Screen because I was still pretty scared of Special Valiant and Latias. So I opt to sack this. I keep my Rev around because positionally I kind of want to abuse the Swampert. And again, I have no idea if this is confirmed Scarf Meowscarada, and I can't risk it with Chiyu. And I'll say for after the game, people were saying why wasn't I bluffing Chiyu as Scarf? And because I only had clicked Dark Pulse. If I brought it in versus Meowscarada and he was Scarfed, Flower Trick killed me anyways. So what is the point of bluffing if I haven't even confirmed if the Meowscarada has switched moves, which it has not at this point. So I bring in my Revavroom here, and I have to Parting Shot and bring in my Chiyu. With him being -1, I considered going Overquill and potentially clicking Agility or Swords Dance and all that, but again, he just clicked Flip Turn. I had no idea if he had Roar or not as well. So I just decided to go into Chiyu here, and what I want to do at this point in time is force the Latias to Terra and see what it is, but I think at this point, I kind of have to go for broke. Positionally, I don't have a whole lot left to sack to Masquerada and like Latias and stuff. I have no hazards up. So I figure my best play is to actually go for the Inferno and then bank on Dark Pulse flinching. Literally, that's it. I could have went Overquill here, gotten Intimidate off, but again, he flip turns. I have to click probably Agility and then go for Swords Dance. But again, I don't have a Reflect Up because of the Rotom didn't get a Reflect Up. So I can't actually kill the Swampert. I need Chip on it. So I figured maybe I need to use Chi-Yu in this way to potentially chip the Swampert so I can win with Overquill. But again, if it's Scarf Masquerada or like Scarf Latias or +1 Valiant, this Overquill doesn't outspeed it because I needed the bulk to live hits. My only way to win is actually Chi-Yu. So I kind of wish I went Overquill instead and just started trying to break with that and then win with Chi-Yu. But at this point, we're going for broke, banking on Dark Pulse flinches. Will we be able to reward ourselves with this? But we go for Inferno. Unfortunately, we don't get the Blunder policy to pop. So at this point, the game is basically over. Yeah, Masquerada comes in. He's probably really confused if he thinks I'm Scarf that I had Inferno. But yeah, I go into Rev, and the light screen's going to run out this turn. And as you can see, he doesn't decide to bring in his Latias here. And he does, in fact, end up being Terra Dragon here. So that's probably Specs or Scarf. I don't know if that... I think Scarf kills from that range as well. But as you can see, Dragon Pulse knocks me out. And I bring in my Chi-Yu here. And again, we're not Scarf or anything, so he guarantee outspeeds us. But I think afterwards he told me it was Specs. It was not Scarf Latias. So we did have a potential chance. But yeah. Game was basically over positionally after I lost Torn. I was able to stop the bleeding, but I couldn't do anything damage-wise because, again, I had 2 Mons that were screen setters. So they were basically useless. Torn was gone. That was one of my offensive Mons gone. Chi-Yu was conditional. Overquill needed a lot of setup, and it needed screens up. But he brought Brick Break, so he did prepare for screens pretty well. And then Rev was not offensive this time. So I had no offense versus his offense, and the team ended up being pretty gimmicky, but that's kind of the point. It was double screens light clay, which is really funny. But yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get the Blunder policy to pop. I at least would have wanted to see that, and I could have fished for Dark Pulse flinching, which had a chance to win at this point. But yeah, unfortunate that we didn't get to show off the tech, but that's what we get for bringing some lame stuff. But yeah, the last 2 weeks, I'm kind of going to treat it the same way. Just have fun, not focus on the result, because I'm telling you right now, I'm going to retire from Pokemon after the next 2 weeks. I feel at this point, I do feel completely burnt, and the passion for it is not really there. And I know people say it all the time, retirement is not a likely thing to stay, as you're going to always find a way to crawl yourself back into the community. But I think I will stay in the community, interact with the friends that I made, but I think at this point, I'm kind of overplaying Pokemon, and I don't really want to burn myself out prepping for these last couple matches, so I'm just going to focus purely on entertaining myself. And next week we do play Habita. It's a good friend of mine. He's been prepping with me primarily the first 5 weeks of the season. So yeah, I'll probably build something quick. I know his team matches up into mine pretty well. Again, it's very Chi-Yu reliant, my entire offense. So it'll be interesting to see how that will be moving forward. And then our last week will be against Blue, who's replacing Rye. And yeah, hopefully we can give some good games and not get completely body bagged. But I think given the team structure, it's kind of just close game win for us or a blowout loss, which is kind of how the season's gone so far. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Stay positive, stay optimistic for for everything you're doing in life, and I'll see you for the last 2 weeks.